What's up guys, Bogdan here and welcome to the Import Export Hub channel. As usual, before I begin the newsreel, the quiz question of the week. Who is the largest exporter of potatoes in 2020 in terms of value? And the options here are the United States, Canada or Germany. And the correct answer is Germany, with more than $580 million worth of exports in 2020. And by the way, don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe buttons. I've recently read a research paper saying that if you hit those particular two buttons, your fingertips will be smoother. I'm kidding, of course, but I really appreciate if you smash them. And let's start with the Freightos Baltic index, and we see here that for today, so 11th of June, Anno Domini 2021, the index is at $5,893, which I think is just over 8% increase compared to last week index. Now, in terms of big movers, we have the North America East Coast to China index, who had a 22% increase, while North Europe to China index fell 1%. For the crossways lane, we have both the China to North Europe and China to Mediterranean indexes above the psychologically value of 10K. So small and medium importers from Europe dealing with China and East Asia, I really hope that you have the resources to stay afloat. And speaking of freights, I have this article coming from Splash 24/7, which is interesting as it summarizes all the factors involved in this freight price increase, from equipment shortage, space shortage, to supply side disruptions like port congestion, COVID infections, quarantine in ports. See the most recent example with Yantian port, and of course the Suez Canal incident. As for the end of these rate levels, well, this is a good question, and as the author says, it's anybody's guess really. But I agree with the fact that these rates will be seen also in 2022. So buckle up, importers and exporters, tough times ahead, sorry. And speaking of exporters, the following news come from New Zealand, as it seems that exporters from New Zealand are no longer able to make forward bookings between Australia and New Zealand, as shipping companies abandoned the remote and marginal Trans-Tasman route in favor of more profitable routes between, of course, China, Europe and the United States. Again, this issue, as I've told you in my previous videos, hits the small and the medium exporters the most, as larger ones have more negotiation power and are taken into account by the shipping companies at the moment, or they can charter their own vessel. But it seems that there might be some initiatives aimed at helping the New Zealand exporters and importers, as Mainfreight company decided to bypass the global shipping lines and chartered its first vessel from Shanghai to Auckland. And it seems that there are two more planned, one to Australia and one bound to the United States. So again, every crisis is pregnant, if you want, with opportunities, and it seems that Mainfreight CEO Don Braid and his C-level executives really understood that they can take advantage of this situation and grab on this opportunity. Hands down for them, and good luck. Personally, I am very happy to see initiatives like this. Now, moving all the way to Sri Lanka, And I won't cover the Express Pearl incident, but instead I will briefly cover the topic of how could Sri Lanka become a major transshipment hub for the sub-Indian continent and the Middle East, thanks to some $500 million of Chinese investments that were pumped since 2014, not only in the development of a competitive terminal in Hambantota. I hope I've spelled it correctly. By the way, this terminal is leased to China since 2017. Also, Chinese investments were directed towards big infrastructure projects like highways or airports. Anyway, the idea is that it's really interesting to see how China is making strongholds all over the world, really, and how both the United States and the European Union are worried about China's influence and power. And come on, guys, go on into the game and stop being so passive and act in a more proactive way if you want to compete with China in terms of diplomacy. Now moving on to the next news, which is about UK frenzy securing trade deals all over the world after their formal exit from the European Union. And it seems that they've secured a trade deal with Norway, Iceland, and Liechtenstein that will slash tariffs on seafood products. Now, I understand that Norway and Iceland are major seafood exporters, but what does Liechtenstein, a small landlocked country, by the way, has to do with seafood? I don't know for you guys, but I'm fed up seeing all this news coming from the UK trading agency saying that we can do better without the European Union. And sorry guys, I beg to differ, and I think that the British people will suffer because of this self-centered and self-sufficient approach in relation to the European Union and the European market. As for Liechtenstein, I think that what is happening there has to do with the financial services, the banking sector, and the company taxes, as Liechtenstein is known as a country with low business taxes, and it's home to numerous holding companies who established their nominal offices there. So the idea behind this article is to try to contextualize what you're given to read and try to process the information just a little bit. And the next news comes from Bloomberg via G-Captain, and it's about how these record high ocean freight rates could affect small and medium American companies if the current freights are kept. And there is no good news in sight as the United States ports, especially Los Angeles and Long Beach, are struggling. And from what I saw, the congestion is not that high anymore compared to what was going on, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago. But the problem persists with what is happening on the land, as there are heavy shortages in terms of labor and equipment. And from my point of view, all these bottlenecks are putting a lot of pressure on both the importers and exporters, and most probably they will pass these extra costs to their consumers, to their customers. So there will be also some inflationary pressure as well in the near future. And in fact, I have here a forecast coming from ING about the inflation in the US. And for 2021, the average forecasted inflation is at 3.6%, while for 2022 is around 3%. And if you ask me, given the current situation with all the disruptions taking place all over the entire supply chain, these figures are somehow optimistic, and I really hope that I am wrong. But let's finish with some good news for the importers and the exporters from the United States, as Van High Lines Taiwanese shipping company is launching a weekly service towards the United States East Coast. The service will be operated by 10 container vessels with a capacity between 2,800 and 4,000 TEUs. And the port rotation is as following. So we have Taipei, Xiamen, Shekou, Kaimep, New York, Savannah, and back to Taipei. The service will be named AA7, and the first voyage is scheduled to start at Taipei on June the 18th, so in 7 days' time. I don't know anything about transit times or rates, but at least we see another alternative from the traditional liner services available, and I am sure that competition will drive the prices a little bit down. Personally, I salute this type of initiative, as the container shipping industry has to be more regulated in terms of shipping alliances. But now I'm curious to see if this service, if it will prove successful, will remain operational after the freight rates will decrease, as it's very hard to compete with the alliances who operate container ships with more than 8,000 TEUs. Will one high deploy larger ones once the freight erodes, or will they completely shut down this service entirely? Well, it remains to be seen, but until then, good luck and smooth sailing for One High Lines. Anyway, that's it for this week news. I really hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to comment and, of course, hit the like and the subscribe buttons. And until next time, keep your business safe. Thanks.